Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth. Welcome back and thank you for stopping by. This is a continuation of a series of videos that I'm going to be making talking about this really cheap Artist Loft sketchbook from Michaels that I've been using this year. And you can see part one, which is how I go about creating background pages that are pre-painted so I don't have to look at a blank page in a previous video. It's on my YouTube channel and I'll put the link down below. So let me get some of the supplies out of the way and we can start with the flip. So again, Artist Loft, the sketchbook itself cost me less than $5, right? So what I found that I really like every now and then, when I first started the sketchbook, I did exactly this. I figured, oh, this will work out really great. What I can do is just use it for pen and ink, without any paper, without any colors. But what I found is even with the lightest ink that I had, I was getting bleed through onto the other sides of the other pages because the paper in this sketchbook is not the greatest quality and it's really, really thin, right? But what I liked about it is just the sheer number of pages in here. So, once you start the sketchbook, you've got a lot of pages. It gives you more time, lets you use more time to fill it up as opposed to going through it really fast. So I started this particular sketchbook in June of this year, so June 2017, and I'm about this far, let me see. I've used about this much of it, just so you get a comparison. I've used about this much of it, and this is November, the beginning of November 2007. Now, it usually takes me much faster to fill sketchbooks, but I have several other journals always going in progress, right? And let me show you some of those. So I have, my morning pages journal, which I use every day, which is a pure composition book. I have in this traveler's notebook, kind of a junk journal that I also use and fill up. And every time I'm on a trip, I have traveler's notebook inserts that I use that are pretty much full. And, if you're interested, let me know and I'll do a flip through of some of these other ones. So, for example, these are all the journals that I've been using in 2017, this year so far. And I'm sure I have more than this. For example, I know this is composition book 2, which means there's a 1 somewhere for this year. So, I go through a lot of journals. So it's not surprising that it takes me a little while to fill, a plain sketchbook. But anyway, going through it, pen and ink, I'm just playing. I tend to like practicing drawing and trying out artistic styles from other people. So you'll see in all of these, if there's somebody I was inspired by, I make a note of it. I basically stayed to pen and ink. As I said in the previous video, I realized that once you add color to the background, the paper doesn't bleed as much or the inks don't bleed through as much. So I've been sticking with that. Just basically, inspired by picture books that I read, drawing things in front of me, people around me, trying to practice hair and just trying to see if I can get texture. It's not as easy as it looks. Some of this stuff is drawn from life, kind of taking notes on what works and what doesn't work. Again, I think that was inspired by a graphic novel that I was reading. Some stuff happens on site. So, a Barnes & Noble sketch of a guy drinking a cup of coffee, or I think he was on a laptop. And then the Lowell Folk Festival, a couple of people that were sitting. Another Lowell Folk Festival page. These people were not this short. This is my error, not theirs. So again, inspired by Monstrous, which is a graphic novel series that I love. So just kind of playing with that. And again, I find that one of the things that works really well for me is not having a blank piece of paper to start with. Sometimes the art doesn't match. A lot of times I take notes while I'm listening to podcasts or, just keeping track of what's going on today, just whatever comes to mind as I'm sketching. This is the Miss Marvel comic series, another series that I really enjoy, especially the first several issues. And again, just trying. I'm not really good at hatching. So one of the things I'm taking a look at is figuring out, so how does hatching work? And so you'll see a lot of practice there. Again, another comic book that I was reading, that's where this reference photo comes from. Notes from a podcast I'm listening to. Always trying, just to see if I can improve my observational skills. And then realizing that I don't really understand perspective. I'm at the marina this summer trying to draw this building, and it kind of looks like it, but I realize that I wasn't getting the angles right. So the next several pages is me spending some time on YouTube. Alfonso Dunn is a YouTuber that has got really great beginner all the way up to advanced videos on sketching. So, that's kind of, I was just listening to watching his videos and just taking notes. And I'm proud to say that I actually understand perspective in a way that I didn't before. Trying out a video, I'm not sure whose video this was, but I was kind of trying out the idea of 2-point perspective and just seeing if I could make that sketch look good. Again, inspired by a comic series called Paper Girls that I was reading. Just some faces that I saw somewhere that I liked. Again, trying to get shading and show dimensionality when it's, a two-dimension image is always a challenge for me. So I'm just kind of practicing on that. And so, feeling cocky about my perspective skills, I decided to try to follow along on a YouTube video drawing the British Museum in 1-point perspective, which is got a round cylinder in the front. And as you can see, I got lost. I got these fine, but then the moment I came to round ellipses, I need a little bit more practice on perspective. Again, another Camilla Khan. I just really like the idea of showing shadow and light areas with hatching. So just practicing on that a little bit and just some notes about, whatever's going on. James Burke, who's another person you can find on YouTube, was doing the swatch doll idea. And I was just playing along to see, how I liked or didn't like, how he was doing it. But in my case, these are all markers because, again, paint. Once I put the base layer of paint down, everything else that goes on top is markers, color pencils, some dry media, right? Because this paper will not handle anything else that's wet on top of it. And love the show Narcos. So again, to me, part of it is just drawing the same person multiple times and seeing that, can I capture the essence of what he looks like, right? If I need a photo, I can take a photo, but that's not what I'm trying to do. Is can I capture a likeness of a person? And I find faces tend to be really hard to do, just because what's expected, right? And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm inordinately proud of this particular drawing because it actually looks like him. Again, just sketches, taking notes on podcasts that I'm listening to. Another page inspired by Paper Girls. I'm a huge fan of Edward Gorey. Just this guy's art, I just love it. So, again, just used, I think one of his books that had some of his art, just to kind of try and capture some of that. And again, these are all markers, pen, ink, nothing else that's wet on top of that. I went to the Museum of Fine Arts and there was an incredible exhibit on Eskimo art and just, trying to see if I could capture some of what I was seeing there. And here starts Inktober, which again, I'm running out of time here. I don't want to make these videos too long, so I will do that section as a different flip. So we've gotten through this much of the book so far. The only thing to be aware of is once you put watercolor down like this on any paper, this or any other, if you put any other wet media on top, it tends to lift some of the paint from below. So just being aware of that sometimes is helpful. If you are going to be putting other wet media on top, I recommend you use acrylic paint. Do the exact same thing. Splash it around, move it around with baby wipes, and that way the background paint doesn't actually lift, right? So that's what we've got so far in this journal flip. I will do the Inktober one next, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comments below. And Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along with the next couple of flips, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.